I was sitting on my bed. The shades were open, but it was dark outside. It was 7:30 p.m. on January 5th, 2018. I got up and headed towards my bedroom door. The moment my hand touched the handle, a strong wave washed down upon me. It startled me so much that I stumbled backwards onto the side of my bed. "What the hell was that?" I asked quietly, but out loud. And just like that, it set in. I immediately felt sad, heavy, confused, and suddenly like I didn't know what was up, what was down, who I was, or what was going on. I started to cry, and I didn't know why. Hello, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you. Wherever you are in this world, I wish you well. Welcome to another episode of the Sacred Raven podcast. Grab yourself a nice cup of tea and let's get cozy. So 2 months prior to that, in November of 2017, I received an astrology reading to find out what was in store for me in the following year. This is a birthday gift I give to myself every year. The astrologer informed me that if all I do is eat, pray, and love, like the movie starring Julia Roberts, that would be enough. I did not know what she meant, but she obviously had a clue and chose to soften the blow with those words. A month later, I made a life change. I closed my business. It was called The Sacred Self. It was a small health and wellness center where massage, energy work, and readings were offered. It was an absolutely wonderful experience, but it wasn't meant to last. And I was completely okay with closing it. I wanted to do that. I wanted to move on. And I figured I would take a few weeks off, find a part-time job, and figure out what I wanted to do. Life, or spirit, had a different plan. I spent days in the house, in bed. I didn't want to do anything. I realized I didn't have the energy to do anything. The only thing I consistently kept up with was the chair massage I provided once a week for a company in South Boston. I had that gig for about a decade at that point, and it provided me with a small form of monetary compensation. Other than that, I would occasionally hang out with a few friends. I didn't know who I was anymore, or what I wanted to do. I would look in the mirror and ask myself, what is going on, only to be met with silence. In the spring, I developed Bell's palsy. I remember waking up one morning feeling weird. I did not know how to describe that weirdness, but I rushed into the bathroom and looked at myself. My face looked a little funny. I immediately ran out and into the kitchen to ask my sister if she thought my face looked different. She thought it looked swollen on the right side. I hustled myself to urgent care shortly after, where I received the diagnosis and was given a rather large dose of Valtrex. The doctor thought I developed it via tick bite. I knew differently. If you are unfamiliar with Bell's palsy, it is a condition that causes temporary facial paralysis. It usually only affects the muscles on one side of your face, and it typically lasts a few weeks to a few months. I am thankful it lasted only a few weeks, and according to the doctor, it progressed rather slowly. The medication all but stopped it in its tracks. But it doesn't and didn't surprise me that I developed it. I did not recognize myself anymore, and it physically manifested so. I do believe that many physical conditions, ailments, and illnesses have an emotional root cause. Louise Hay was a big proponent of that concept. If you don't address your emotions, they will fester into physical form. One of the books she authored, You Can Heal Your Life, dives deep into the emotional root causes of physical illnesses and how you can heal them. Even though she has since passed, she was and still is a powerhouse within the spiritual community. Shortly thereafter, a romantic relationship ended. We weren't able to sustain our connection during this change of mine. And shortly after that, I began an unstable relationship with someone else. Looking back, it appeared as if I went backwards. My life and my relationships reflected a continuous strain of inconsistent ebbs and flows. But life can be and look funny like that sometimes. Appearances can be deceiving. Things that were stifled and repressed can make their way up to the surface in a myriad of ways. And depending on how you react and respond to those changes within, will determine the direction you move in life. Despite the changing relationships, I spent the majority of 2018 by myself. I went into hermit mode. I was depressed and confused, and my soul needed to go within. Friends and family asked me all the time, "What do you want to do?" Or, "What would you like to do? What is fun for you?" And I always answered the same, "I don't know." And that wasn't a lie. I really didn't know. I didn't have the clarity, at least when it came to moving forward. By the end of the year, I received clarity on what I didn't like or what I didn't want to do. And I suppose that was a positive start to this transformation of mine. If you can at least get clear on what it is you do not like and do not want in your life, you make room for what you will and do like, and maybe for what you will want to do in the future. This change, this deep transformation begged me to transmute all that was no longer serving me into a newer, lighter, and more confident version of myself. Prior to 2018, I was not aware of everything that was not serving me. And in fact, it has taken me the better part of a decade now to discover all the layers. Shrek said it well when discussing the similarity between ogres and onions with Donkey. For your information, there's a lot more to ogres than people think. Ogres are like onions. Onions have layers. Ogres have layers. Onions have layers. We both have layers. And while that may be true for ogres, it's also true for humans. Humans have layers. Many of them. And while humans are simple creatures, it's their knowing on how to make things complicated that is stored within the layers. And we have to peel back those layers to get to the root cause of any and everything. That's where the healing can truly take place. There are many people that would call this type of traumatic experience a midlife crisis. And in a way, it is. It could also be termed as an identity crisis. Those are the Muggle terminology for it. A dark night of the soul is categorized as a profoundly transformative experience that many people go through at some point in their spiritual journey. It's an intense process of inner crises where everything known seems to lose meaning and a genuine search for truth and purpose begins. It's a confrontation with the most hidden parts of the self, and it can last many years. Many people in the midst of experiencing it will tell you how horrible it is. And I would agree. Only looking back now, I can say that it was an opportunity. An opportunity to rediscover myself. An opportunity to learn boundaries, tolerance, acceptance, how to surrender, how to be consistent and show up not only for myself but for others, how to truly and utterly love myself despite all the flaws that were suddenly thrown at my face. And I most definitely learned patience. If anything, that will probably be the number one lesson to learn throughout it. Because this type of transformation is not to be rushed. You'll struggle if you push against the tide. Your soul is tasking you with being okay with breaking down and rebuilding yourself back up, piece by piece, small step by small step. There's a high chance that if you try to take a giant leap forward, you'll falter. And the next thing you know, you're doing one crazy cha-cha on the dance floor of your life. This type of transformation requires a lot of nurturing and self-care. And self-care can look different for each and every one of you. When I advise people to nurture themselves, I always tell them to do something that brings a smile to your face, to do something that brings you joy. Now, if you experience a dark night of the soul as bad as mine, then you may no longer know what brings a smile to your face. At that point, I would say, fall back on the things that brought you joy as a child. Bubble baths, eating a hot fudge sundae, coloring in a new coloring book, watching old cartoons. Any activity where you are engaging your younger self. Because connecting with your younger self, your inner child, is greatly rewarding. It unlocks a door to healing that was previously closed. Plus, you actually may rediscover an activity you used to engage in that you could expand upon as an adult. And who knows where that would take you. And there's one crucial bit of information worth knowing when it comes to experiencing a dark night of the soul. You are not alone. You are never alone. There will be moments when it feels like you are, but that actually isn't true. There are others who have gone through it and can help guide you. And there will be those who are going through it at the same time as you. It also gives you a chance to connect with the spiritual realm in a way you may not have perceived previously. Depending on your soul's evolutionary process through it, you may open yourself up to those on the other side, such as angels, ancestors, and other sentient beings who can help guide you as well. A dark night of the soul will either launch you into the beginning of your spiritual journey, or it will advance you further down the spiritual path you are already walking. And even though everyone experiences it differently, the overall event is the same. And after a time, you will realize it was an important component of your soul's evolution. And it is all okay. Thank you for joining me in this episode. I appreciate you taking the time to share this space with me. If this has resonated with you, please take a second to follow or subscribe, leave a review or comment, or share this with someone who may be venturing down a spiritual path and has a hunger to learn and grow. I will see you next time. Stay cozy and take care.